we finally got a new Nami leader in OP11, and it's here. These spoilers are around and everyone is kind of losing their mind over the abilities on this card and the support that could go into it. It's a lot of value. It's a very high power card in terms of even being defensive. It's in these correct colors where blue has some key staples in this game and yellow just has some insane general support. So I think a lot of things are coming together. Not only in this video am I going to provide my general just thoughts on the card, but on my thoughts about this versus the old Nami leader and the idea of alternate win conditions in this game. So chapters are all going to be down below. Let's hop right into the leader itself and talk about some support. So blue yellow leader OP11, Nami is a 4-life 5k power straw hat pirate crew leader. During your turn, once per turn, when a life leaves a life pile, any life pile. So when a life leaves, meaning if you attack your opponent and a life leaves based on them taking the hit, or if you use your own abilities to remove their life, or heck, even remove your own life, you may activate this effect. The effect is you draw one card if you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand. Essentially alluding to the idea that even if you were to take your opponent's life, you still get value off of that. Usually what happens is in these type of TCGs, your opponent taking life or you taking life means you gain some type of advantage. Yes, they're one step closer to beating you, but then you have a card in your hand that could help you win the game. It could be that key staple that you need in your deck against this matchup that you're not able to draw, but it has been stuck in your life, all these type of factors. But now you as the Nami player are going to be able to gain that advantage by removing a card from your own life, their life, however you want, but on your turn. The second ability says Dawn X1, attaching a Dawn to it. When an opponent attacks, so specifically on your opponent's turn, once per turn, you may trash one card from your hand. Give this leader plus 2k power for this turn, folks. For this turn, that means the first time you activate this ability, the rest of the turn, your opponent's turn, Nami is a 7k power leader, which is absolutely insane. This is the part that's blowing everybody's mind. Yes, there's a lot of ways to generate free value in terms of the card draw aspect of it, manipulating your life. It's what yellow is known for. But honestly, permanently being a 7k power leader is absolutely insane defensively, considering the amount of defensive tools that yellow already has access to, and also the fact that yellow has now access to a lot of cards that have good power early or have good power late that you could functionally treat as these trash pitches to get your leader up to this power. Means everything is just going to have that constant value. And then of course, you are drawing 2 cards per turn on your turn. You draw 4 turn, and then you also draw for the effect. So your hand will, literally speaking, always be healthy in some way, shape, or form and have access to cards. If you have 7 or fewer, you don't need to have more cards to have more cards. You need to have 7 or fewer. If you have 0, you are still drawing 2 cards per turn. So the way you want to think about support for this card, I'm not even going to go over the blue options that you have. We already know some of the blue staples that we could put into here, maybe a little bit of card draw, you're putting the pudding in there. And I mean, checking out this art right here, there's also no way this isn't evocative of some type of pudding art here. So Oda's just losing the allegations of how he draws all his characters the same way. But shout out to a card that'll probably be in this list. And honestly, it's kind of funny because if you keep your hand healthy, pudding is also a great card against this leader in a funny way. But anyway, when it comes to support, the way you want to think about a card like this is take a look at a spoiler from OP11. Take a look at Zeus, a 2-cost 2k counter character. On play, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand. So immediately you will be able to use Zeus to trigger your own card. So you will play Zeus, add a card from the top or bottom of your life, and then draw a card immediately. So that means this is Zeus's, draw 2 cards, 2-cost 2k counter, draw 2 cards, and then on play, KO one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. You've functionally drawn like 1.52 cards, KO'd one of your opponent's characters, and then even if you didn't do that, you had a 2k counter in hand. So a lot of power just off of this. Also knowing that this card isn't leader locked is fantastic. That's another thing I want to restate with this leader. There isn't a lot of leader locking so far. We still have a lot of spoilers to go for OP11, but it seems like the support that we have for Nami, even classically, may not end up being leader locked unless we get something specific out of this set. Now, when it comes to even further support out of maybe something like Kazuki Hayori, then you're looking at some of the black yellow Luffy support that has traditionally been manipulating the top of your life, now just really valuable in a list like this. 2-cost 2k counter. On play, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life, and then add 1 card from your hand to the top of your life. So this is a great way to not only swap out cards. So if you have good triggers in your hand, we already know that you swap cards with this, but this also allows you to just draw a card. It just 2k on play, rearrange a trigger so you know what it is, so you could put it on top, put it on the bottom based on how you manipulate your life in future turns, take hits, whatever, but then also just draw a card. So this is another example alongside like Flampe that you're going to be able to use to draw cards. Another yellow card that's really available to you as a yellow player in the mid game that's not leader locked is 7-cost Charlotte Linlin. On play, your opponent chooses 1, trash 1 card from the top of your opponent's life card, which means you are going to be able to draw a card, and then add 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life card. So not only are you either going to be able to, again, lose a life and then you draw a card because a card's leaving, or you're just going to be able to just heal 1, right? So not you losing life, sorry, I should say your opponent's losing the life, and then you draw a card, or you just heal 1, which is a really valuable effect considering that, yeah, you are going to be spending some amount of time manipulating your life. You're going to be losing some amount of life. You're a 4-life leader, which is a very tricky thing. Of course, you're multicolor, fair enough, but you're also going to have the option to potentially heal some at some point. So Charlotte Linlin is a great option, generically so in many yellow decks. Another one is going to be Queen Mama Chanter out of the STO7 deck. Activate main, a stage that isn't leader locked. Again, you may rest this stage and add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand. Great. You activate this, you draw a card. Add up to 1 of your characters with a cost of 3 or less to the top of the owner's life card face up. Another, I think this is actually going to be a staple my opinion, just because you are going to be playing a lot of cards that are going to take cards from your life. They're not going to be swapping like Hiyori is. So you want cards that are going to be able to heal you in that way, right? So if you have good 3-cost or lower effects that have good triggers, this is going to be a good way to just manipulate and put that. This isn't necessarily healing because you're kind of swapping, but this is a good way to manipulate the top of your deck, draw options, draw cards, and overwhelm your opponent and always find what you need. We know how powerful selection and card draw and just advantage in general can be in this game. We've seen what happened with the Sakazuki decks. And so when it comes to a card like this, any type of manipulation, any type of choice is going to add a layer of skill and going to add a layer of player advantage when it comes to playing a deck like this. And the last card that I want to mention specifically is Nico Robin. 6-cost 1k counter. On play, if your opponent has 3 or more life cards, trash 1 from the top of your opponent's life. And what's great about this is even if in the late game, if they're at 2 life, 1 life, 0 life, whatever, you don't get any value out of this, just pitch it. Just pitch this to the second Nami ability, get 2k power for the rest of your opponent's attacks. It just makes it way easier to counter out. Yellow not only has great triggers, but it has a decent amount of counters, like good counters as well. And this card also has a good trigger, play up to 1 in yellow character with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So not only are you going to have a ton of cards in your hand, this is a good way to, if you trigger a Nico Robin, that's going to be a good way to play out something like a Zeus later down the line. So when it comes to effects like this, you really want to make sure not only are you maximizing on your trigger, but your life manipulation. And even if they are conditional, they are great cards to pitch later down the line to be defensive. And just keep making sure that your life is only lost when you take advantage of it. When you are drawing a card, when you are manipulating your own choices, that is the time when you are taking your damage. And so, especially with the leader that's gonna, kind of counterintuitively so, right? You are making yourself very defensive on your opponent's turn, which means on average, you're probably losing less cards in hand, but it's perfectly fine, right? Like this might even allow you to play more 1-cost count, like 1k counters versus 2k counters, because you will pitch cards and permanently make your leader like a 2k counter, like a 7k power leader. And so this is really gonna help against like the aggro decks, especially. It may not necessarily help against maybe like the Revolutionary Army type decks, but those tend to go very tall anyway and wide, but tend to lose a lot of their resources in the long game. So if you can kind of stall out, which yellow can with a leader like this, then you might be able to get there against matchups like that. So I really like Nami for a variety of reasons for that. I think a lot of people like it for these reasons, but let's talk about it from the perspective of this channel as someone who's been making Blue Nami mill content for a minute, I was actually honestly really hoping that this would be another alternate win condition, and it actually kind of makes me sad. So you know, this part of the video might be a bit more negative than the first half. Really happy to see support for a card like this. Really cool leader. I will definitely be playing a leader like this and kind of enjoying some games with it. But when it comes to alternate win conditions, at the end of the day, you may hate me for saying this, but I'm more of an alternate win condition leader lover than I am a Nami lover. I'm not a Nami hater. I just like alternate win conditions more than I have like an allegiance to Nami. I'm happy to play other leaders if they have alternate win conditions attached to them. I am that mill guy, but coming from Magic the Gathering, I have a deep love and appreciation for different ways to win the game, and again, alternate win conditions. And I thought with the introduction of something like Goldie Roger that we were moving in that direction, albeit really slowly, noting that this game doesn't have like an advanced stack system or a response system, maybe like Yu-Gi-Oh does, and a stack system like Magic the Gathering. It's very hard to respond to alternate win conditions. It's very hard to interact with them, especially in a game where there are no sideboards. It's one-shot situations. Even if you are able to play, like, you know, in high level tournaments, you are playing multiple matches, you're not changing your deck list. Mulligans are restricted to 2, so you don't have that many options in how you're able to tackle your opponent. At the end of the day, if you're playing Nami and your opponent is playing Shanks, no matter what they do, unless they draw the nuts, it's just going to be an unfavored matchup no matter how they do it. But when it comes to games where you have sideboards and situations where you can add cards post game, then you can change that matchup. So when it comes to that lacking in the One Piece TCG, I guess that's kind of like that final nail for me, where, you know, the game's really fun. I can't deny that the game is succeeding, but I feel lower on the game. I actually thought that maybe this was a game that would like to explore its different avenues and maybe find alternate win conditions. And I'm really excited for the game to explore that, especially with cards like Goldie Roger having that. So maybe when we get more powerful characters that come out, or other characters that come out throughout the manga and the story itself, I might find pulls to come back into this game. But largely, Nami being the character it is, it's a really high skill deck. It can get countered out, and I'm actually really happy with where it is in the metagame right now. But my problem is that I really wish Nami was just like one of these characters that potentially just led to alternate win conditions. Nami is the type of character that is non-traditionally kind of interacting with the crew in terms of combat, using a lot of like non-conventional and really like interesting and well thought out and smart methods to attack problems in the anime. And I thought maybe that would be a cool way to have Nami be this alternate win condition type of leader. So I'm kind of upset that it's just about like power creeping leaders and the advantages that they have. Like, I know it's inevitable that we will have 3K counters in this game, and if you don't think that's true, then I'm sorry, you just don't play enough TCGs, or you don't have enough experience in like trading card games whatsoever. And I don't blame you. You just haven't been beat down by the power of power creep. I think many Yu-Gi-Oh players can speak to that. And me as a Magic player that's been playing for over 15 years, I can talk to the power creep of the game as well. But when it comes to that power creep of alternate win conditions specifically, decide that it's going nowhere. I understand that Bandai doesn't want to deal with it. It probably doesn't lead to good like viewership experiences, but that's also because the game doesn't have good answers built into it. And I think that's why a lot of people get frustrated with Nami. They feel like they don't have the answers that they need. Like, they draw bad, and then, you know, the Nami player has like 4 life triggers that are drawing them 2 cards. Like, it feels absolutely impossible when you're not able to have that control in the game. And without good options that attack things like that, I kind of just blame the game designers. And so, I don't know, I feel lower on the game because I was kind of hoping for more out of this Nami deck. Will I stop playing? No, but I'll probably be playing a little bit less. I think on the channel I'll try and post a little bit more Magic the Gathering content, but I will still be posting Nami content. And one of the questions I posed to folks watching this like this late in the video, do you think like the Nami Discord itself should include something like this? I know I called it the Nami Discord, but it really was a mill Discord at the end. But I don't want to be like completely, you know, like separate from that Nami. It is a Nami leader. I think a lot of Nami players do identify less so with the alternate win condition and more so with the character. So I'm happy to kind of open that up, maybe add whole separate sections for that type of Nami player in the Nami Discord. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Are you excited for this leader in general? Are you excited for less alternate win conditions and different ways to approach your favorite character? Maybe if that's Nami in the One Piece TCG. Sound off down below. Let me know what you think. I'm sorry I had to end this video off like this. I just wanted to be honest here. I'm excited for the leader. Was just hoping for a little bit something different from the One Piece TCG.